中印文明跨域边际传播的本质分野，制度政权主导与精神信仰驱动的历史实证与学理阐释。The essential divide in cross-regional marginal propagation of Chinese and Indian civilizations, historical evidence, and academic interpretation of institution regime dominance versus spiritual faith driveness。引言：欧亚古文明边际辐射的两大核心范式与学理根基。Introduction: Two core paradigms and academic foundations of marginal radiation of Eurasian ancient civilizations, as two of the most vital ancient civilizations on the Eurasian continent, the Huaxia and Indian civilizations, have formed fundamentally distinct, cross-regional marginal areas over thousands of years. This difference is rooted in the core traits of the civilizations themselves, and has been confirmed by the theories of numerous renowned historians and civilization researchers. Arnold Toynbee, in a study of history, proposed the civilizational theory of challenge and expansance, pointing out that the spread and evolution of a civilization are essentially creative responses to the external marginal environment, and the differences in response modes are determined by the internal spiritual core and institutional structure of the civilization. Fleury's citation in A History of Sino-Indian Cultural Exchanges broke the cognition of the unidirectionality of Sino-Indian cultural exchanges, put forward the theory of bidirectionality and multidirectionality of cultural trade. He also clearly stated that there is an essential difference in the core of communication between the two civilizations. The Huaxia civilization exported institutional order and political regime systems to the outside world, while the Indian civilization infiltrated with spiritual beliefs and the concept of liberation. In the global history, Stavrianos placed the spread of Chinese and Indian civilizations in the framework of the integration of the Eurasian continent, pointing out that the spread of the Huaxia civilization has always been accompanied by the territorial expansion of imperial political power, while the spread of the Indian civilization relied on cross-regional commercial and religious communication networks, becoming an important spiritual link for the integration of classical Eurasian civilizations. The trait of plurality within unity of the Huaxia civilization, refined by Xu Zhuoyuan in The Weave of Huaxia Civilization, together with the cultural network theory in Prasenjit Dwara's Culture, Power, and the State, jointly explains the communication logic of the Huaxia civilization characterized by institution regime rhyme dominance, with the secular political power as the core and the institutional system as the carrier. It realizes radiation of order first, faith tolerance in marginal areas. Jiang Jingkui's research on Sino-Indian civilizational dialogue confirms the spiritual faith-driven mode of the Indian civilization centered on Hinduism and Buddhism. Its spread does not require the support of India's native political power. It can complete faith grafting and cultural integration in marginal areas only through folk exchanges by monks and merchant caravans from Chiempa and Majapahit in Southeast Asia to the Western Liao under Elkhanate in Central and Inner Asia, and to Tubals' occupation of the Hexi corridor, from the administrative integration and spiritual cultural traits of Tibet to the formation of the Hui-ISQ and Sikhism, and to the colonial legacies of Goa, Hong Kong, and Macau. Countless historical facts all point to a core conclusion. Cross-regional marginal spread of the Huaxia civilization is the radiation of secular order dominated by institution and regime, while the cross-regional marginal spread of the Indian civilization is the infiltration of religious culture driven by spiritual faith. These two modes are not only the different ways civilizations respond to the marginal challenge in Toynbee's writing, but also the inevitable embodiment of the core traits of Chinese and Indian civilizations in cross-regional communication, and even the core model for understanding the civilizational marginal effect. 一、华夏文明的跨域边际传播，制度政权为核，秩序本位的辐射关系。二、 I doubt regional marginal propagation of Huaxian civilization, institution regime as the core. Radiation logic of order standard, the Huaxian civilization is essentially a secular civilization. Xu Zhu summarizes its underlying characteristics as the three primary colors in the grand tapestry of history: group connection based on kinship, agricultural economy centered on intensive farming, and a civil official system guided by Confucian ideas. These three together determine that the development and spread of the Huaixia civilization have always taken the stability of secular political power and the construction of order as the core goal. Zhang King Fairbank's Confucian bureaucratic complex theory proposed in the Cambridge History of China. Late imperial China accurately reveals the regime dependence of the spread of the Huaxia civilization as the spiritual core of the Huaxia civilization. Confucian culture must take political systems such as the imperial examination system and the civil official system as carriers for its cross-regional spread, and this dichotomy to take root without institutional support. Based on this, the radiation of the Huaxia civilization to surrounding marginal areas has formed the core logic of institution regime dominance, inclusive and pluralistic faith. At the political level, it extends the institutional order of the Huaxi civilization to marginal areas through suzerain endowment, official system transplantation, and administrative integration. At the spiritual level, it does not forcibly export Confucian culture or native beliefs, and maintains a high degree of tolerance for local religions and cultures. This logic has clear historical evidence in three dimensions: Southeast Asia, Central and Inner Asia, and territorial and ethnic integration. Cases such as the Western Liao, the Ilkhanate, Vietnam, and Tibet have become classic models of this communication. 1.1东南亚政权体系落地与儒家文化的依附性传播。1.1 Southeast Asia the landing of political regime system and the dependent propagation of Confucian culture. The marginal radiation of the Huaxia civilization to Southeast Asia is a typical example of the priority of political regime system landing and the follow-up of Confucian cultural attachment, which fully confirms Fairbank's Confucian bureaucratic complex theory. Different from the spread of Hinduism and Buddhism in Southeast Asia without the support of political power, the landing of Confucianism, the core culture of the Huaxian civilization, Southeast Asia must be premised on the Central Plain-style political regime system and bureaucratic system, and Vietnam is the only complete case of this mode. And after its independence in the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms period, it has always taken the initiative to transplant the complete political regime system of the Central Plains dynasties. It imitated the Central Plains to establish a centralized bureaucratic system, implemented the imperial examination system as the core of civil official selection, took Confucian classics as the content of imperial examination, and established a system of official and private schools to spread Confucian ideas. It's precisely because of the Confucian transformation of the Confucian bureaucratic complex that Confucian culture was able to take root in Vietnam, become the mainstream culture of Vietnam, and even become the core carrier for Vietnam to construct national identity. Vietnam's conquest and assimilation of Champa pushed this move to the extreme. As a typical Indianized state in Southeast Asia, Champa took Hinduism as its spiritual core and had no unified centralized political regime system. In the Long Cheng Wars with Vietnam, he was finally destroyed by Vietnam with a complete Central Plain-style political regime system. Its territory was gradually annexed by Vietnam. Hindu culture declined accordingly. and was replaced by Vietnam's Confucian culture and Central Plain-style institutional order. This historical process confirmed Fairbank's core view. The cross-regional spread of Confucian culture cannot be separated from the political regime system carrier it depends on. In other areas of Southeast Asia, such as Thailand and Cambodia, because they did not transplant the political regime system of the Central Plains and only had material trade exchanges with the Huaxia civilization, Confucian culture failed to take root, which also proves the communication logic of institution regime dominance of the Huaxia civilization from the reverse side. 1.2. 中亚内亚政权符号延伸与信仰的绝对包容。1.2. Central and Inner Asia, the extension of political power symbols and the absolute tolerance of beliefs. Due to geographical and ethnic barriers, the marginal radiation of the Huaxia civilization to Central and Inner Asia failed to realize the complete transplantation of the political regime system like Vietnam, but presented as the extension of political power symbols and suzerain vassal order, and the absolute tolerance of spiritual beliefs. The traits of secular standard and pluralistic tolerance of the Huaxia civilization proposed by Xu Zhuyun are most vividly reflected here. The Western Liao and the Ilkhanate are the two core classic cases of this mode. Both retain the political power symbols and suzerain vassal order of the Huaxia civilization in Central and Inner Asia, but maintain the high degree of tolerance for Islam, the mainstream belief there, and did not forcibly export any native culture, becoming the core models of the westward expansion of Huaxia political power. The Western Lao, a cross-regional marginal regime established by Yelu Dashi in Central Asia, is the first complete practice of the westward expansion of Huaxia political power in Central Asia. Faced with the marginal area of Central Asia, where Islamic civilization and Buddhist civilization intersected, the Western Liao firmly retained the core symbols and institutional framework of Huaxia political power. It adopted the title of Gurkha External and used the Central Plains imperial reign title system internally, issuing reign titles such as Yanqing, Kangguo, Xuanqing, and Shaosang in succession. It cast coins with seal script in Chinese characters such as Kangguo Tongbao, inheriting the coin system of the Central Plains dynasties. It retained the Liao dynasty's dual administrative system of North and South courts, building the centralized administrative system adapted to the multi-ethnic pattern of Central Asia. The Western Liao took Buddhism as its royal belief, but it implemented a policy of extreme tolerance for Islamic civilization, the dominant belief in Central Asia. It did not suppress the spread of Islam, retained local religious leaders and mosques, and even integrated Islamic customs into court etiquette. The Western Liao never transplanted the Confucian education system and imperial examination system of the Central Plains in Central Asia, nor did it forcibly export the spiritual culture of the Huaxia civilization. Its existence in Central Asia was only the marginal extension of the political power symbols and institutional system of the Huaxia civilization, not the spread of spiritual culture, which is the most typical parody of the westward expansion of Huaxia's political power. The Ilkhanate, founded by Hulek, was the vassal state of the Yuan dynasty with the closest suzerain vassal relationship among the four khanates of Yuan khanates, expansion of four khanates, expansioning the peak of the westward expansion of Huaxia political power in Inner Asia. The Yuan court and the Ilkhanate formed a strict suzerain vassal system. Kublai Khan officially conferred the title of Ilkhanate, intimating the suzerain vassal status of the Ilkhanate, and establishing the core suzerain vassal order. The succession of the Ilkhanate must be enthroned by the Grand Court, and envoys should be sent to pay tribute. At the political system level, the Ilkhanate deeply absorbed the institutional elements of the Yuan dynasty. It cast coins, with the reign title of the Yuan dynasty and Chinese seal script such as Zhu Yuan Tong, imitating the coin system of the Central Plains. It learned from the secretariat system of the Yuan dynasty and set up Bichi to be in charge of documents and administration. It even integrated the court etiquette and involvement ceremony of the Central Plains into the palace system. In terms of faith, the Ilkhanate officially adopted Islam as its state religion during the reign of Ghazan Khan, implementing Islamic law throughout the territory, building mosques, and reusing Muslim scholars. And the Yuan court made no intervention in this. The Yuan court even conferred the top official title of the Central Plains official system, 开夫仪同三省 and Duke of Yiwu. On Chu Pan, the core minister of the Ilkhanate, and awarded him a silver shield and a gold tally, incorporating him into the official system of the Central Plains. As a Muslim, Chu Pan always governed in accordance with Islamic law in his administration. This phenomenon of holding Central Plains official titles and governing with Islamic beliefs is a typical embodiment of the separation of political power and faith in the Huaxia civilization without one doctrine. 疆域与族群，行政统合下的精神多元共生。1.3 Territory and ethnic groups, the symbiosis of spiritual plurality. Under administrative integration, the cultural network theory proposed by President Duarte in culture, power, and the state provides a key perspective for understanding the communication logic of the Huaxia civilization. In territorial and ethnic integration, the Huaxia civilization incorporates different ethnic groups and regions into a unified administrative order. By building a cultural network centered on political power, while at the spiritual and religious level, it allows all ethnic groups to retain their own cultural and religious traits, forming a pattern of administrative integration and spiritual pluralism. The formation and development of Tibet, or the Huai ethnic group, are the core historical evidence of this pattern. Tibet has been under the administration and integration of the Huaxia's political power since it was incorporated into the territory of the Yuan dynasty was separated establishing the self-governing jurisdiction over Tibet. Ming and Qing dynasties continued this system, setting up the U.S. Town Regional Military Commission and the resident minister in Tibet respectively, further strengthening the central government's administrative jurisdiction. Under the premise of administrative integration, the central government maintains a high degree of tolerance for the spiritual culture and religious beliefs of Tibet, and does not forcibly exploit Confucian culture. Tibetan Buddhism has always been the core spiritual culture of Tibet, which has been completely preserved and developed. This pattern of administratively belonging to China and spiritually belonging to Confucius has become an extreme contrast between the communication modes of Chinese and Indian civilizations. The Huaxia civilization has realized the territorial and political power integration of Tibet through administrative integration, while the Indian civilization has realized the cultural infiltration of Tibet through spiritual beliefs. The formation of the Hui ethnic group is a typical product of the Huaxia civilization as administrative integration and pluralistic faith. The ancestors of the Hui people were Arab and Persian Muslim merchants who came to China in the Tang and Song dynasties. After integrating with Han, Mongolian, Yugon, and other ethnic groups in the Yan and Ming dynasties, they finally formed a unified ethnic group. In this process, the Hui people have always been under the administrative integration of the central dynasties, except in the jurisdiction of the central government, using Chinese as the common language, and absorbing the secular culture and living customs of the Huaxia civilization, becoming a member of the Chinese multi-ethnic community and spiritual and religious life. The Hui people have always adhered to Islam, built mosques to carry out religious activities, 方面了 unique trait of identifying with the high axial political power and adhering to Islamic beliefs. Whereas cultural network theory is completely clear. The Cossack civilization has incorporated the region into a unified national order through the cultural network constructed by political power and administration, without breaking their own religious belief network, and finally formed a pluralistic and symbiotic ethnic pattern. 1.4 华夏文明行政性整合的唯一性，占卜为核心，无第二例同治案例 1.4 The uniqueness of Eurasia civilization's administrative integration. Champa as the core. No second will only be misplaced. It is worth emphasizing that Eurasia civilization's integration of Champa is the only case of permanent Beyond Champa, the Huaxia civilization has no other cases of thorough cultural assimilation of the Indian cultural sphere, and its interactions with other regions of the Indian cultural sphere only remain at the level of administrative integration with faith tolerance, which is another key proof of the institution regime dominance of the Huaxia civilization. For the western regions, a Buddhist spread area of the Indian cultural sphere, the Han and Tang dynasties both realized directly administrative integration. The Han set up the western regions, and the Tang set up the region of the west. But the Huaxia dynasties only implemented an administrative order, did not forcibly export Confucianism or assimilate Buddhist beliefs, retain the local Buddhist culture and city-state system, which is a typical political power integration plus faith tolerance, and completely different from Champa's institutional transplantation plus cultural assimilation. For southwestern Yunnan, Nanzhao and Delhi were once influenced by Indian Buddhism and belonged to the age of the Indian cultural sphere. But the Huaxia dynasty's integration of this region was gradual administrative integration, only implementing the central administrative system, not completely eliminating the local Buddhist culture, nor realizing the comprehensive landing of Confucianism until the policy of Heifu in the Ming and Qing dynasties. It was not a one-time institutional and cultural integration of China. In short, the Huaxia civilization's interaction with cultural sphere has achieved a thorough integration of institutional regime plus cultural assimilation in China, and all others are administrative integration plus faith tolerance. This uniqueness stems from the fact that Vietnam is the only country in Southeast Asia that has completed the transplantation of complete Central Plains Confucian bureaucratic complex and has the institutional foundation for assimilating